this morning, I think at 7:30, when I learned of this provision. I've got an amendment to delete Section 213. This $1 million jackpot provision is one of the most blatantly corrupt provisions for political self-dealing and plunder of public resources ever proposed in the United States Congress. And we're watching it happen in real time. You know, it was said that the Roman Senate was so corrupt, so drenched in bribery and private self-enrichment, that the senators were actually as corrupt as Julius Caesar and as Caligula, the tyrannical maniac. I don't know if the Republicans in the Senate today are as corrupt as Donald Trump, but they're on the path, and they're right behind him. If this were to pass, this astounding provision would give 8 Republican senators a personal payday of at least $1 million each, paid for directly by the U.S. taxpayers at a time when we're throwing millions of people off of their health care. I want to associate myself with the eloquent remarks of Mr. Vindman, but I want to make one dissenting remark. Section 213 is actually about $1 million, not $500,000, and I'll tell you why. It's retroactive to 2022, which is extraordinary. It's an ex post facto civil law. It allows, quote, any United States senator, not any U.S. citizen, mind you, not even any lowly member of Congress, mind you, but any senator to receive $500,000 from the taxpayers if the Department of Justice subpoenas their phone bill without giving them notice, that's $500,000, and then an extra $500,000 if the Department of Justice seeks a lawful non-disclosure order from a federal judge. That's a cool $1 million they're handing to each of these senators. Case closed. It's over. They want this pirate's treasure simply for having their call records turned over by the phone company in response to a lawful grand jury subpoena. That happens tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of times a year. So are our MAGA colleagues dealing themselves $1 million payout, suddenly civil libertarians saying they want to change the law so grand jury subpoenas can't go out for any Americans unless they're notified first? No. It's not for all Americans. It's not even for the second-class citizens over in the House of Representatives, those present and those absent in the other room. It's not for any of us. It's for 100 Americans. They get special privileges under this criminal justice right. It's a right for those 100 people to say, if a grand jury subpoenas us in a lawful investigation, and if a judge orders non-disclosure, they get $1 million. Wow, that's incredible. Now, why are they doing it? Well, this multi-million-dollar self-care package is designed to soothe the feelings and feather the nests of senators who Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and the other 77 people they pardoned yesterday, or maybe it was the day before yesterday, worked to enlist in their criminal efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election, which I don't need to tell you, Joe Biden won by more than 7 million votes, 306 to 232 in the Electoral College, as determined not just by the House and the Senate, but also by 60 federal and state courts that rejected every fraudulent claim of electoral corruption and fraud. Well, following this evidence, including many calls made by Giuliani and the president to U.S. senators who were on the floor on January 6th, they said, well, the grand jury looked and saw the evidence. The president was in touch with all these senators. They wanted the pen register for them. It's not a phone tap, which is what they're lying about over there. No contents of the call were revealed, but it was a record of the calls. It's like your phone bill. And the grand juries do this all the time. But now they're saying that really hurt their feelings. They don't think U.S. senators uniquely should be subject to such treatment. They want $1 million payout because of that now. It's extraordinary. Now, I doubt it even is consistent with equal protection. I think it violates equal protection. It does not pass the lowest level of equal protection scrutiny, which is rational basis. On what rational basis could we say that the grand jury and a federal judge could send out precisely these orders for the pen register to all Americans, members of the House, members of state legislatures, governors, mayors, but not the U.S. Senate? Come on. I mean, is this the Hunger Games? Is this the Roman Senate? I can't believe it. We are the people's house, Madam Chair. I know you agree with me about that. We're the people's house. So they want to treat us like the House of Commons, and they're the House of Lords. And they're going to deal themselves all kinds of special entitlements and privileges. Well, let's be the Rules Committee. I once served on this great committee. Be the Rules Committee, not the Fools Committee. Don't roll over and play dead when the Senate decides that they want to deal themselves with this stuff. That provision is an insult to the House, it's an insult to the taxpayers, and it's an insult to the U.S. Constitution and the people of the United States. This must be deleted. Regardless of how you feel about everything else, this provision must be deleted.
The bill before us, as the gentleman from Virginia articulated, is a bill that will open the government probably in about 24 hours, if all goes to the current schedule tomorrow, voting.
Or less.
Passes. Or, yeah, give or take. And that's the whole point. That's what we're doing. That's what the last 54 days, quoting my friend from Indiana, that the American people have been watching. And the messages we get and people asking what's going to happen, the folks at TSA that we've all met with, people, the air traffic controllers we've all met with, all the things that we've all been doing. For whatever theater this is all about, which 99.9% of Americans aren't going to give a rip about or watch. And that's all this is political theater in this room here right now. It's just back and forth trying to joust on political points, Democrat, Republican. That's it. That's all that's happening. The fact is you have an egregious violation, an abuse of power by the FBI, the Department of Justice, that was carried out against United States senators. Just an egregious abuse of power in coordination with a federal judge that comes in and says that AT&T can't provide the records to a sitting United States senator. At least one of the providers had the courage to at least go into court and say, wait a minute, speech and debate clause, maybe we can't do this. At least one of them did that. But the extent to which 20% of the Republican members of the Senate were targeted by the FBI is extraordinary. And we haven't talked about that at all. We're going to talk about the corruption. Let's talk about that corruption. The power of the government, the executive branch, being targeted to Article 1 in that way. That merits full hearings, full discussion. It should offend us all. But fine, we'll get there. But we're sitting here in the Rules Committee, and we're talking about this now, having this information now at our disposal.
We're talking about a slush fund. That's what we're talking about.
And we're talking about the root cause of what we're talking about.
So you either favor the slush fund
We're talking about, it's my time. And what we're talking about is how we got here. The abuse of power by the FBI and a federal judge. That's the truth.
Can I retract my comment?
No.
I thought you were against the provision.
I don't like the provision, but this is my time.
Come on, come up.
The fact of the matter
Mr.
is,
Magoo's.
the fact of the matter is, that's the corruption that should be alarming to any member of Congress. The dismissal by my colleagues on the other side of the aisle tells you everything you need to know. It tells you everything you need to know. A complete lack of regard for what the executive branch did to target members of the United States Senate and members of Congress and our colleagues. When my friend Scott Perry was on family vacation and has the FBI rolling into his house in front of his kids to confiscate his phone. We don't seem to care about that. We don't seem to care about that abuse of power. This is my time. But this is what my colleagues don't seem to care about. And what we're here now talking about is an amendment that, yes, I expressed early and share and continue to share the concern. Well, you can say whatever you want. The fact of the matter, like, logic and reason should matter here. And what my point before that you scoffed at, Mr. Ranking Member, earlier, when I said this is political theater, that's precisely what it is. Because if you're being at all objective about this, you would be equally concerned about the corruption of what we saw to the Department of Justice and the FBI, as you are concerned about a provision that I don't believe should have been put in the bill. But no, we're not going to reject the funding of the government today, because that provision was inserted in the bill. But I joined my friend in Indiana, and I would join my friend from Virginia, and my friend from Georgia, or any of my other colleagues, who want to go address this issue on a standalone bill as soon as tomorrow or next week or in the Rules Committee next week. But that's the position we're taking. And the American people should be reminded as to why we're even having the conversation in the first place.